is the S&P 500 going down to 4,800 level? In this weekly S&P 500 analysis, we're going to take a look at the market sentiment, the market internal and the price action to see is the S&P 500 heading down to 4,800. So stay tuned. Before we take a look at the chart, let's go to the performance here. And looking at this table of the indexes, we notice that the last week, the Russell 2000 and the New York Stock Exchange Composite and also the Dow Jones Transportation, they all finished in the green, while the S&P 500, NASDAQ 100, and the NASDAQ Composite and also the Dow Jones Industrial, they all finished negative. And the month to date and year to date, they are all negative. And looking at the performance of the 11 sector in the S&P 500, notice the real estate, energy, utility, stable, and also the material. Last week, they all finished in the green, while the financial, industrial, healthcare, communication, discretionary, and the technology sector, they all finished in the negative. And the technology and the consumer discretionary, they were the poorest performer for the week. Now, for the month to date, only the consumer stable is positive, and for year to date, the consumer stable and the utility are positive, and all the other sector, they are all negative, with the consumer discretionary and the technology have a minus 17% loss for year to date. Now let's take a look at this weekly chart of the S&P 500 and notice that it finished with a bearish inside week, and we are basically looking for a break from this inside week. And you can see this low down here is pretty close to this 4,800 level. So if this continue to move down, there is a good possibility we could see the S&P 500 to come down, make a lower low, and that will bring it back down to 4,800 level. Now, would it occur next week or in the following week or in the month of May? Well, that is way to be seen. So we basically have to kind of look at the sentiment and see what the market participants are feeling presently about the market. Are they kind of bullish or bearish? So before we do that, let's go to the indexes, the chart of the other indexes, and then we will take a look at the market sentiment and the internal and see exactly what the market is telling us about the possibility of moving down to 4,800 level. So on this daily chart of the S&P 500, we see there are quite a number of candle within this top edge, the top portion of this humongous bullish candle here, this engulfing candle inside, engulfing all these successive candle. And this is the day that President Trump put a 90-day pause on the reciprocal tariff, and that's what caused this huge reversal from the recent low. So right now, we're still chopping around inside of this upper portion here. And we'll take a look at this price action in a little bit more detail later on this video when we start analyzing the index and also the ETF and the futures. So we're just going to skim through here quickly on this. So we'll be looking at the other indexes as well. And here looking at the Dow Jones Industrial, we also see the Dow Jones Industrial is bumping up against this high here, this reversal candle high and pulling back. So we also notice that it is also hovering, trending down in this 30-day moving average cloud. And also the 30-week moving average is also, turning down, starting to turn down now. So definitely we are looking at this continuation downtrend until the market structure have reversed and start putting a higher low and a higher high to tell us that there's a possibility of changing the current trend. But for now, we're basically still looking at this continuation of a downtrend. And for the New York Stock Exchange Composite, we also see that got a little bit of a spiking up shooting star type of candle on Wednesday, but then we see it immediately fall back on Thursday. So again, it kind of gave us a little bit of fake out here, on the New York Stock Exchange Composite, but it too is trending downward with this 30-day moving average, and also the 30-week moving average is starting to turn over. So we are still looking at a lower high, lower low type of a downtrend until it reverses the structure. Then we will continue to monitor this on the way down. And here on the NASDAQ 100, again, we'll take a look at the price action of the QQQ and also the NQ, the NASDAQ 100 future later on in this video in a little bit more detail. But if we take a look at it, you see that it's also kind of coiling up inside of this big candle here, and it is trending downward. It tried to move up, and every time that it tried to get close to the top here, I got rejected. And also we noticed that there's a gap down here on Wednesday, and it's tried to put in a move up, but it got rejected, although it finished with an inside candle here on Thursday. So again, we got inside candle here, breakdown, inside candle here. So basically looking for a continuation of a downward move, and we could see this candle or this inside candle break down and dip below this low and move downward. And here's the Russell 2000. You can see the Russell 2000, have this slide down all the way down to close to 1700 level, and the 30-week is rolling over, and you see the steepness of this 30-day moving average cloud coming down. So again, we are not seeing anything positive on the Russell 2000 to tell us that any sign of going back up, reversing this downtrend. So until then, we will continue to monitor the Russell 2000 on for further downside move. And here in the Dow Jones Transportation, you see kind of flattened out here, consolidate for a while, took a pump up to make a high, and then it just broke down. You see this just almost coming straight down since it broke this 30-week moving average here, and also start rolling over. And we see that it too is trying to courting here, and we're basically looking for this thing to move lower and possibly break this 12,500 area and move down. Who knows, right? It might come down even to this 12,000, but we'll wait and see to see what level it's going to hit once it breaks this low here. But for now, we're basically still monitoring the continuation of a downtrend. Now let's take a look at the sentiment and see what the market participants are feeling nowadays. Look at the VIX. After we got a VIX pop up above that 50 level, it came down and it's hovering in this 30 level right now. So it's still up above this or near this what we call the fear zone. And once it get above the 30, I call that as a in a panic mode. The market participant are a little bit much more fearful and getting a little bit panicky. But between 20 and 30, definitely the market participant are getting fearful. And then when we get below 20, then the market participant are getting complacent. And also the put call ratio, you notice that the put call ratio came up above 1 and dipped back into this zone between 0.75 and 1, in which that I call this zone is more of a hedge zone that the market participant are buying puts to hedge their position, but they are not being totally bearish, and that they are just buying put betting on the downside when it get above 1. So right now it is in the hedge zone area because on Thursday it finished at 0.81. So definitely the market participants are not bullish, but they are not panicky right now. So they are in a hedge mode, and we could see a little bit more of a choppy action before the market participant take a side or being panicky or being bearish or being a little bit more complacent or being a little bit more bullish. So again, basically just a wait and see, because we are seeing this coiling action on the price action in the SP 500. So until we see a decisive move down and possibly get below this candle's low, maybe dip below the 550-100 level, and we'll probably see a little bit more decisive spike up again in the VIX to get above that 30 level, and also the put call ratio pushing back up toward the 1 and get above the 1 level. So for last week, the shortened week, we noticed that the up-down volume ratio wasn't that bad, even though we saw a couple down day here, like on on Wednesday, we got this gap down, and we did not see that bad of a up-down volume ratio. It's only a little bit of a minus, let me see what that reading is, minus 2.3 to 1 in favor of the down volume. And also the, advanced decline is only 715 more declining issue than advancing issue. So overall, we see a little bit more positive in terms of the advanced decline and sort of neutral on the up-down volume ratio, even though we saw a down week from last week. So definitely the market is still in a little bit of a decision-making type of a state right now. I haven't decided which way to go yet, but also it's not showing a huge sign of being bearish. Also looking at the New York Stock Exchange, new high, new low, we sort of looking at some neutral number. Not much of a movement there, in terms of new high or new low. It's pretty relatively flat. Like the only 37 new 52-week low on Thursday versus 14 new 52-week high. And looking at the cumulative AD line for the New York Stock Exchange, we're actually seeing a little bit of a positive divergence here. We see, the AD line is actually making a little bit higher high, while we are seeing the SP 500 making a little bit of a lower high. So we could see a little bit more, choppy upside and try to come up and test this high here, near this 5,500 level in the coming weeks. So it depends, right? We could also see this thing just reverse down with the AD line coming back down. And here looking at the NASDAQ is also relatively neutral last week as well. We did have that one huge gap down day on Thursday with a up-down volume ratio of -4 to 1 in favor of the down volume, and also the advanced decline with the declining issue outnumber the advancing issue by approximately 1,500. But similarly, on the new high, new low in the NASDAQ, very much similar to the New York Stock Exchange, not much movement at all. We have 134 stock make new 52-week low versus 37 stock make new 52-week high on Thursday in the NASDAQ market. And similarly for the AD line, we also see a little bit of a positive divergence, for the NASDAQ 100 versus the NASDAQ cumulative AD line. So that's a little bit of a positive sign again. Maybe we could see a little bit of a choppy action toward the upside before it reverse back down, or the AD line just take a dive and as the NASDAQ 100 continue its slide down toward this, maybe down here at the 16,500 area. So overall, looking at the sentiment and also the market internal, the market is still pretty much in a flux of deciding which way to go right now. So, but right now, if I were to just try to take a stab at it, then I would say I'd be leaning a little bit more on the downside, just based on the the market structures. But again, we can also see this thing chop around here, kind of forming a little bit of a bull flag and then push up. That's one possibility, right? But also the other possibility is this thing just come down and take out this low. Right now, basically just a wait and see, just like the market, wait and see what the market will do. So I would be watching to see, would it take out this low first and then come down, take out this low, or come up and take out this high. So let's go and take a look at the price action at the SP 500 a little bit more detail and see what is the market is actually telling us what to anticipate for the coming week. So on this candlestick chart, this daily candlestick chart of the S&P 500 cash index, as you can see, it's been hovering around this 5,400 zone here. And right now, we're basically looking to see, since it is below this 5,400 zone, we see a continuation to come down, break this low, and move down to test this zone here, somewhere around this 5,100 level. And also basically, testing this low. So we're going to be watching for the coming week to see is the price of the S&P 500 be coming down here and maybe get a little bit of a bounce. And, if that is the case, then we probably will be looking a little bit more chop within this zone here before it either breaks out, take out this high here, or, breaks down and come down to this 4,800. So, and if we take a look at what the market is pricing in for the coming week, and here's where the market is pricing in, the option market for the coming week. It is pricing in the upper range between 54.70 and 54.47.30. And the lower range is between 51.18.10 and 50.75. So definitely, the downside move is right around this 5100 area. And the upside is basically above this 5400, and try to get back above this high here, this reversal high. So we'll see what the price come up, take out the 5400 and pushes up here to test the upper range, or will it come down and test the 5100 area by dipping into the lower range and basically testing out this low here. So those are the level to keep an eye on. So again, the 5400 will be a key zone to watch. If we could get back above the 5400, then we look for the possibility of, taking out this high here. But if it is continue to stay below this 5400, like where it's at, then we're basically looking for the price to come down to this 5100 level. And who knows, right? If there's some kind of bad, shocking news or whatever in the tariff front or whatever, we could see a flush down to the 4800 level. But once you get below this 5100 level, then we basically this 4800 level is in play. So we got to keep that in mind. Now looking at the E-mini S&P 500 future, the ES, and here we see that the market is pricing in the upper range near this 5500 area at 5502.50 and 5488. And on the lower range, it is pricing in 5165 and 5105. So basically, it is putting in this 5100 in play here if it dipped into the lower range for the coming week. So again, we're basically looking at this, close to that 5400 area, similarly to the S&P 500 cash index. If it is above this 5400, then we probably will be looking for a possible move up to this 5500 area and try to take out this high here. Now you notice that the ES did take out the this reversal candle high just a little bit, and it got rejected and got pushed back down. We see that it is still coiling inside of this huge candle here. So if it stay below the 5400, then we'll be looking at this. First probably get a little bit of a test on the price zone somewhere around 5300, but we will be watching this 5100 area to be in play. Basically, the lower range, 5165, 5105 area. And here for the SPY, the ETF for the S&P 500, see the market is pricing in the upper range between 545.50 and 542.70, and the lower range 510.10 and 506. So again, this 510 and the 540 is key to watch here. So if it come up to the 540 on the SPY, then look for this 545 area, this upper range get put in play and possibly come up to this 550 and basically come up to this high. But if it remain beneath this 540 area, then we're basically looking for this thing to come down to this 510 region, into this lower range, and possibly, test this to see where we get a bounce. If it doesn't, eventually we're going to see this thing most likely come down to this low volume zone here. Because if you notice that we have this low distribution, right, what we call the balance area. So basically it is auctioning up here, and now it's trying to auction down, and most likely we find some support here, or going to spend some time here because there's high volume area here that a lot of the buyer and seller consider this to be a little bit of a fair value area. So they're going to conduct a lot of business here. Then eventually, if the buyer is exhausted, then we're likely to see the price to continue to move on down while the seller is dropping their ass to try to find, buyers. And here's the NQ, the E-mini NASDAQ 100 future. And here's what the market is pricing in. The upper range is 19,175 and 19,083.50. In the lower range, it is pricing in 17,772 and 17,550. So those are the two ranges that we're going to be watching for in the coming week. Right now, it's sitting right near this low volume area around this 18,500 area here. So, and it's settled at 18,380 as of Thursday. So what we'll be watching is if the price could stay above this zone, then we're probably looking for a price to try to move back up into this 19,000 area and possibly, test this upper range. I'm not sure that it will get up to this little bit of a volume zone or get up to this high here, but there's that possibility, but definitely we're going to be watching this 19,000 in play if it stay above this 18,500 area. But if the price remain to be below this 18,500, then we're basically looking for the price to come down into this 17,500 area, this between the 18,000, 17,600, this low volume zone here, and see would it be able to get a bounce here. And if it doesn't, then we're definitely looking for the price to head down toward this 16,400 area, 16,500, into this low here. Now, not necessarily we're going to see this get touched or get tested next week, but there's always that possibility. But we just have to bear in mind, as soon as it, if this lower ranges get taken out, or this zone here, right, this low volume zone get taken out and it come down, then there's a good possibility that we're going to see price taking out this low, or at least come down and test that low, because more likely, forming this, lower high, lower low. And where is this low? We don't know, but we know if that low is going to come, it's going to take out this low. And finally, looking at the QQQ, the ETF for the NASDAQ 100, we see the market is pricing in the upper range between 463.50 and 460.20, and the lower range between 428 and 424. So again, we're basically looking at this zone here at 450, this volume then. And if the price is able to get back above this, then we'd be looking for a possible move back up toward this upper range and possibly come up to this high here, try to get up to this 470 area. But if it stay below this 450, then we're basically looking for this thing to come down to this low volume or the volume then here somewhere around this 430, and that will put this lower range in play, because the lower range is in this higher volume area here between 428 and 424. So you might get a little bit of a support here and then bounce back up to this 430. Now, once it breaks this 428, 424 lower range, then we'd be looking at the 410 and possibly come down to this 395 area. Okay, take out this low. So those are the price scenario to keep an eye on for the cash index, S&P 500, the ES, the SPY, the NQ, and the QQQ. Now, if you want to know what the trade level that I'm watching for each trading session, go visit my Substack newsletter, The Pulse of the Market, in which I publish a daily trading plan for the ES, NQ, the SPY, and the QQQ. And in addition to that, in my newsletter, I also publish trade idea, trading strategy. So go check it out. I have the link in the description below, and the link is smtraderCA.substack.com. And if you find the content in this video to be useful and informative, be sure to smash that thumbs up to help promote this video on YouTube. And if you are new to this channel, click on the subscribe, and also click the subscribe on the newsletter so you'll be able to get the content, some of the additional content that I publish in my newsletter. And thank you for watching, and good luck on your trading.